These numbers, as an introduction to the management of talent, give us some solutions. What type of solutions the companies have been taking in the last 10 years? Usually, most multinational companies send their best people, their seasoned executives, to foreign subsidiaries, and I was one of them. I was not an expatriate from the US, but Citibank decided that they needed a Latin in a Latin country, not an American, and they didn't want to have a Brazilian because they didn't trust the Brazilians at that time for that specific job. And so they sent me, I was one of the first expatriates that Citibank had that was not an American. But there were a lot of, and you know, and some of you may have been expatriates in other countries, or Westerners going to their, where the company has business, usually from the US, from the United Kingdom, from Germany, from Italy. Most of the expatriates are in the Arab countries, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Oman. But we can see that the cost of the expatriates for many companies has been increasing. They have to send them with, fantastic packages, it cost a fortune, and the rates of staying in the company is not that high. So the turnover failure has been estimated globally in billions of dollars. The adjustment challenge of the people. Usually they go to the first, second level position and they cannot adjust the culture, the language, and the family. There are now, some companies are using what we call the commuter short-term expatriate, based on private motivation, people that want to offer themselves to go to the country, younger, global middle class people with much more global view and experience, and even some re-migrants from earlier generations, that they offer themselves to go. Now, what is going to happen, what are we seeing as strategies for managing global talent? China and India, their situation, of course, is calling for an incredible amount of expatriates, and right now they have a lot of expatriates. With Russia, they are the three toughest economies to navigate for expatriates. They are very difficult for them to adjust. So companies, global companies, are trying to find a different type of leader who can adjust, can drive and be creative to many times what feels as a startup company, not as a normal, usual Western type of company, but people that can master relationships, that had a lot of flexibility, language skills, rather than the old senior executive that is going to that situation. On the other hand, in the countries that are receiving expatriates, there's a huge population. There are a lot of positions, but few people are qualified for what you need. And I just learned that in China, 3 out of 10 people that accept a job don't show up. Why? Because they accept 20 different jobs at the same time. And of course, the company is counting with this guy that gave his word or her word, and suddenly there is no one there. Among the alternatives to manage global talent, there is also what we call, I have called the new expatriate, the repatriate. And this is an immigrant to take back to their native country with a lot of skills and experience from the adopted land. A former foreign student prepared at the company headquarters, that was my experience, that said, hey, he knows the culture, let's send him back to this Latin culture, he will understand, he will adjust. And like we were talking this morning, sometimes it's the best alternative. And some of these expatriates have a goal to make the roles obsolete by developing local talent. And there are many experiences going on in the world developing local talent in multinational companies. However, in some countries, and particularly in China, there was a study in The Economist a couple of months ago saying that the Chinese are not anymore interested in multinational companies. There is a high percentage of Chinese candidates that think that most senior positions in those companies are and will continue to be held by expatriates. And so they feel the national pride. They are getting more to national companies, to private companies. And the multinational companies are, because of the expatriates, are losing talent or are needing incredible talent, local talent. Now, how do you manage talent for this new situation, for this new global perspective? As you know, and we were talking this morning with our colleagues here, the talent is the key for the success. The advantage in competition is driven by human people. The talent pool is getting shorter. We need to motivate and act smart, attracting and keeping people at the local level and having an organization that is ready to respond to this situation. There are a lot of alternatives about branding, and we can read a lot of experiences of international, multinational companies branding differently, getting committed with the people, with the country, focusing on employee development, communicating stability to potential candidates, and of course integrating and balancing the business and the individual and cultural needs of the candidates for the positions. I think one of the key issues and one of the recommendations that I do when I consult with a company in doing expansion, doing integration, doing adjusting to a different culture is that you need to have a talent management strategy. You cannot think that you can conduct business the same way it has been conducted for the last 30, 40, 50 years with example, 9-to-5 schedules. Who can manage business today from 9 to 5, having everybody, seeing everybody, well, with the internet, with the flexibility of BlackBerries or a presence everywhere at every time. And so there are a lot of flexible experiments being done in most successful companies to adjust to different type of environment. There are a lot of innovative technologies for training, for getting people into the business needs in a more creative way. A lot of virtual training rather than physical training. You need to save costs. You need to prepare people at the global level. You create a WebEx conference. There are a lot of collaboration, and many companies have started a different approach. It's not from the headquarters that all the ideas come. It's a global collaboration, is a participation, like you were talking this morning, is developing local talent and adjusting to the local situation. Career advancement for employees into a very flat structure, a different structure. Is not anymore the traditional career progression, one job after the other, but the flexibility to adjust, integrating functions, not anymore having specialists, but having people with global vision, not only to the outside, but to the inside of the organization, understanding every aspect of the business. And developing leaders to arm an organization with experienced, global-minded visionaries. Last year, I was part of a very important project to try to train people at the global level everywhere in the world, in Western Union, trying to help people to be able to understand the other culture without sending them there, and creating a program of understanding the global reality from different approaches, having experiments, special teams, developing projects. So this is the type of new challenges that organizations have developing people, and of course compensating related to accountability to good performance to develop people. We seldom pay people, we seldom reward managers for developing talent. And the last thing that I wanted to say is how companies are building a lot of mechanisms to engage people, and with some drivers directed to local culture. to respond to local situation. In summary, I would say that, and forgive me if I'm not very concrete, I'm trying to give you a general approach to this situation. What I see is that the leadership challenges of a global organization are sometimes a little bit slower than the world is moving. We are catching up with this. The traditional, the colonial approach to successful expansion is gradually being substituted by a strategic approach to building local talent capability in emerging markets. Many companies are trying to create resources in, for example, in the United States, or I'm partnering with a company in France that has the service to Asian companies in France to prepare their executives that are studying graduate school in French universities, so when they finish their master's or doctoral degrees, they can go to their countries as executives. But they're Chinese and Indian and Vietnamese and South Koreans that are being prepared. The company is preparing these people in places to be sent back home, local talent. Effective global talent management in the 21st century is calling for flexibility, for innovation, for lots of engagement with local communities. And my time is over. Thank you so much. I would be very interested if you want to discuss anything in the coffee break or over lunch. We could expand a lot of things in this subject. Thank you.